Okay, so let's take this if thing up another notch. All right, that was a very simple example we did last time. Now I want to go ahead and make it a little more intelligent, a little cooler. And I think what I'm going to do is I want to make a fever detector that lights up the green LEDs if it's normal. It lights up the yellow LEDs if you're borderline and if you have a fever. I want to go ahead and turn on the red LEDs. Okay. So I want to have a different set of circumstances for the if statement. And I can do this a couple of different ways. I could, maybe I should do it in several different ways to give you an example. But right now let's start with what we had. So this is the last piece of code. I've actually saved it once. I'm going to go ahead and, what this is going to be to an introduction to if, else if, and else. Okay, so we're going to look at all these different cases. So let's go ahead and talk about it. If we have a normal value here around 520, let's say that anything from 515 on up is going to be normal. So we can do that right here. Let's go here to the get data. Okay, so this is what we had before. So if anything was less than 500, we had all the LEDs go on. So what we want to do is we want to have it, if it's greater than 515, then we're going to, I'll go ahead and make I haven't done this function yet, but we'll just call it normal. Okay. Now I can do this, like I said, a couple different ways. So let's do it the way you might be thinking of first. Let's just create another if block, or an if statement. So now let's say if it's greater than 515, it's normal. If it's greater than, let's say, 500, and there's lots of ways we can do this. Let's do. I'm going to introduce a cool concept where we have and. So now we're going to be looking for. Let's say you want to look between a bracket, a brace, some sort of range. I can do it this way, or I can say it's greater than 500 and it's going to be less than 514. Okay. So that should cover that range if it's greater than 500. And if it's less than 514, we should be in medium. And what I can do here is put something else. I can make this another if statement. Let me just copy this one. And if it's less than 500, or say, let's say 499. Well, we'll go with 500. We have to have one of these be equal, so let's greater than or equal to. And if this is less than 500, and I'll make this greater than or equal. Now that we've got that one covered, okay. So if it's less than 500, then this is going to be fever. All right. So now we have these three different conditions. So I'm going to pause it and create the little functions, and I'll talk about it. There's no reason for you to watch me type, so hold on one moment. Okay, so I've created these three functions, and I think you'll agree that they look reasonable, normal. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run from LED 2 to LED 4, so that's pin 2, 3, and 4. So that should turn on all the green ones. Medium, well, that's going to be 5, 6, and 7. So I end up going from 5 to 7. It turns on all of these. And then fever, of course, is going to be 8 and 9. It turns on those. So when you look at this code, your first reaction is, oh, that looks like it's going to work great. If it's greater than 515, it lights up these. And if it's between these numbers, it lights up these. And if it's anything less than 500, it lights up this. Cool. Let's load it up. Let's see what happens. Oh, what did I do? I've done something wrong. Oh, I need another set of parentheses, sorry. We want to have everything within one bracket. I didn't actually need those inner ones, but there's nothing wrong with it. Let's go ahead and load that up. damn it. Okay, so let's take this up another notch. We've already now played with if, and we did a very, very simple example here, where we just made a simple decision based upon this value, the photoresistor. Now, I've actually left in here this thermistor, because I'm going to play with that. I should change that variable name. Because what I want to do is I want to make a fever detector. So what I want to have it is if you're at a normal temperature, let's say anything greater than 515, then these green LEDs are going to light up over here. All right. And if you're, let's say you're getting on the edge here, you know, you're maybe a little pre-fever, or you have a bit of a temperature, but it's not too bad. Well, we want to turn on these yellows. And if you are definitely feverish, we want to turn on the reds. Okay. So let's do that with some if statements. You can imagine it's probably not that hard. Let's go ahead and I'm going to change, just to be duteous here, I'm going to rename this. I'm going to save it again. So this is going to be if / else if / else. The things we're going to talk about this time. And I am going to go ahead and change this photo val. Let's call it a therm. And let's call that the T val. All right, so now let's go down here and change this. This is therm. And this is T val. Okay, and we'll change that to therm as well. Now, let's make 3 if statements. We'll keep it simple, and then I'll show you a better way to do it. So just work with me. We're going to make 3 if statements. And we want to go ahead and choose, for example, if it's greater than or equal to, let's say 515. You are, I'll have to create these functions, but you're normal. All right. And let's say if it's between, what do we want to do? I guess we have to have a range here. So let's go with, if the therm value is greater than 500. Now pay close attention to this. I haven't introduced it yet. I want to put a range. I need 2 brackets. I want it between one and the other. You do that with 2 and statements. Okay? So I want to go between these 2. So I'm going to copy this and paste it there. And we want to make it go between, say, greater than 500 and less than 515. All right, it's always good to make sure that I've covered the actual value of 515. So this is actually 515 and beyond, and this is less than 515. And this is going to be greater than 500. So what we really want to have now here is a less than or equal to 500, so that we would cover 500 itself. And let's call this medium. Oh, I want to make that capital, sorry. And let's call this fever. Cool. All right, so we've got some reasonable logic here. It should sort it out our data just fine. I'm going to pause it and create these 3 functions and then explain it real briefly. So no reason for you to watch me type again. Hold on, I'll be right back. Okay, I've shelled out these 3 functions. I realize I left out a really important thing. Going back up here briefly. I need to actually make sure that all the conditions within an if statement are within the parentheses like we have here and like we have here. Now I've got 2 different ones. So I really need to bracket those all together in a set of parentheses like that. Okay? So let me go down here. I haven't finished these. I just shelled them out. All I did was copy this one and then paste it 3 more times and change the names appropriately. But now I have to change the values. So this is pin 2, 3, and 4. So this we want to have go between 2 and 4. And then this is going to pin 5, 6, and 7. So this needs to go between 5 and 7. And this is 8 and 9. So let's change these to 8 and 9. Okay, sweet. It looks like this should work. Looks logical, right? If these values all fit, then it should light up. Let's load it up and watch it fail. Oh, what did I do wrong? Oh, I got to change these names, so sorry. This was thermval. And this was tval. Okay. Ah, my goodness gracious. And then, of course, this is thermval. This lets you know that I actually don't do these in advance. All on the fly. And I misspelled it. All right, sweet. Okay, so we're at normal temperature. The three green lights are lit up. So let me put my hand on here, get a little warmer. And, wow, that's beautiful. Look at that. And, but wait, something, oh, okay. All right, it works, sort of. But you can see that the temperature is rapidly dropping, but we're not losing those values. It's like it's stuck in a fever state, where it's actually no longer a feverish value. So that means we have to tell it explicitly to turn off all unnecessary LEDs when it's not being used, okay? So I'm going to pause it and put that code in here, and then we'll explain it, and we'll run it again, and I'll be right back. Okay, so take a look. Normal, okay, that should be the three greens. So if they have it, if it's only normal, and that's the temperature range it should be, then I only want to have the greens on, and I want everything else off. Okay, so that's pretty easy. So I've got 5 through 9 turned off, and 2 through 4 turned on. It gets to be a little more complicated. In the medium, well, if I actually am passing through normal, well, I have to turn on those normal LEDs if I turned them off before. So now I actually have to go not just 5 through 7, but I actually have to turn on all of them from 2 to 7, and then I want to turn off 8 and 9 if it's in fact only medium. All right, let's go to fever. Well, at fever, what we want to do is we only want to turn, well, we actually want to turn them all on. We don't have to turn any off, because if it's not a fever, then either medium or normal will turn off the ones that are necessary. Boy, this is getting to be a lot of work. So now if I go ahead and put my finger on here, and I get it close and start warming it up, you can see that perfect, that worked great. Then it cools off. You can see it fluctuating a little bit as it cools. If I put my hand on it, we go all the way to fever. I take it off. We're going to drop below the fever temperature, and then here shortly we'll drop below the caution temperature. So all this was to show you a cool example of a way that I probably wouldn't do it. But it's still important to understand how this all works. So on the next video, I'm going to show you another way to do it, and it's probably going to make you a lot happier. So I will see you all again really soon.